So you're learning a jazz standard and you want to be able to crush it. You want to be able to go up on the bandstand and take awesome solos. You don't ever want to forget it later on. You don't want to get lost in the form. Well, in today's video, I'm going to give you 4 simple steps to learn how to master a jazz standard so you can completely crush it every single time. Let's do this thing. What's up, Brent here from LearnJazzStandards.com, which is a blog, a podcast, and videos all geared towards helping you become a better jazz musician. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification button below to never miss out on everything going on here. Now, I get this question all the time. How do I learn jazz standards so that, I can improvise flawlessly over the chord changes and play great ideas and, feel like I can be creative and not forget the tune? And the list goes on of the concerns, because people want to be able to play live at jam sessions and gigs and feel confident in themselves. So I have 4 steps that have worked for me, have worked for my students many times over and over again. So let's go over those and let's get right to it. So step number 1 is to learn the jazz standard by ear. This is incredibly important. And if you don't do it by ear and you're a slave to the sheet music, you're going to find yourself in a whole world of trouble and not truly learning and understanding and feeling confident over that song in general. And I have a whole process for learning jazz standards by ear. I'll go ahead and link that up in the card above. It's called the LIST process, which stands for listen, internalize, sing, and transfer. And if you're able to learn a jazz standard that way, I guarantee you're going to know it way better than you would have otherwise. You're not going to forget the tune if you put all of that practice and effort into it. And that's going to open up so much in your jazz playing, you're not going to even know what hit you. And yes, I do also mean the chord changes by ear, not that you can't check with the sheet music as well to help you out with those things. But putting your best effort in and getting better at doing it over time is going to really open up the doors. So that's step number 1, is to learn it by ear. Step number 2 is to map it out. Now, this is really important for me personally because I want to understand what note choices I can play when improvising over this tune. Okay, it's really important. So I have 3 different phases of the mapping process. Now, number 1 is chord tones, and mapping out chord tones. I like to do it with voice leading, going up the chord tones of one chord and down the next and connecting to the nearest chord tone, because this helps me to start know the important notes that I need to be hitting in order to make the changes come out. My second step in my mapping process is guide tones, which is the 3rds and 7ths of each chord. And I want to be able to identify those as well, because ultimately, if you resolve to one of those notes, you're really going to hear the chord changes come out. And those are really the money notes in your improvisation. And then step number 3 for mapping is what I call scale maps, but I like to call scales pitch collections, meaning that they're really just a series of notes, a collection of notes that you can use and create melodies from. So by taking just very basic scales and applying them over top of the chord changes, also using voice leading. So by mapping out the tune, you're going to know where all the notes are, everything's going to be clear, and from there you can start making actual music. Step number 3 is to learn actual jazz language over it. Now, in order to start improvising, we need to mimic and copy. That's how we learn any language, and jazz is really no different. So what I would suggest is, if you're learning a jazz standard, say All the Things You Are, go ahead and learn a solo. Maybe you're going to learn Paul Desmond's solo on All the Things You Are, but learn a solo and see how a great jazz musician actually approached that standard from a macro perspective. And yes, this is a lot of effort. Yes, you should do it by ear. Don't read the music, because then you'll internalize it. But this is going to really help you start develop ideas. You can also isolate little licks that you learn from that solo to start taking through all 12 keys so that you know how to approach different chord progressions like 2-5-1s within that standard. So that's step number 3, learn actual jazz language over top of it. Now, for step number 4, it is no secret that if you want to master anything, it requires a lot of repetition. But it's more than that as well. It also requires you to be put into an actual live situation. So first of all, of course, you're going to be practicing this tune over and over and over again by yourself. But if you don't actually take it outside of your practice room and go to the bandstand, go to a jam session and play it continually over and over and over again, many, many times for years on a gig, then you're never really truly going to feel that sense of confidence and mastery that you want to have over that jazz standard. Now, again, all of this work, it translates to many other jazz standards. If you do all that effort for one, you're basically multiplying it over and over and over again. So here's what I want to hear from you in the comments below. What do you suggest as steps for mastering a jazz standard? Fill up that comment section with as many of your ideas as possible. Would love to hear from you. By the way, that list process I talked about before, I do have a free handout where you can get that process very clearly in a nice PDF design format for you. It's called Learn Jazz Standards the Smart Way. It includes that process. So sign up at the Learn Jazz Standards the smartway.com. All right, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, and you can go ahead and check out one of the videos, another video from me over here, or sign up for my Learn Jazz Standards the Smart Way over here, and I'll see you in the next video.